Welcome to What the Health. This is a new spree series where we uncover crazy and outrageous stories that are related to health and wellness, and then we unpack them to discover what we can learn from these people and also actionable steps that we can take today to prevent ourselves from finding ourselves in these kind of situations, okay? So let's kick off this series with a story that I found from a Reddit thread, okay? It asked doctors and med students what are the craziest stories or encounters they have had with patients, and this one caught my eye, and it will definitely catch your eye, okay? And you will definitely be mind boggled like I was, because I was like, wow, I never knew that this could lead to a domino effect of such bad conditions, okay? So just hear me out literally, because I'm about to get into the story and then we're gonna unpack it. All right, so I printed it out. I'm gonna read it out right now. Okay, so when I was in undergrad, I did some observation in an assisted living facility with a physical therapist. The most intriguing patient I had was a woman around the age of 70 who came in for sudden blindness. It turns out she had a UTI that got so out of control, it turned into a kidney infection and led to acute delirium. In addition to that, her blood pressure spiked randomly so high that it affected her glaucoma, causing her to go completely blind overnight. Wow. The combination of sudden blindness and delirium caused her terrifying hallucinations. She kept seeing gigantic monsters at night in her bedroom, as well as the dead bodies of her grandchildren, which were actually still living. Over the 3 weeks that I saw her, it went from her saying things like, I know I'm out of it, I'm just seeing things that seem so real, to walking into her room and finding her having full-on conversations with people that weren't actually there and believing that they were there. She introduced all of us to the people she was hallucinating with, and we got her up to walk her out of her room. She was reaching out her hand to brace herself against the table she saw, but it wasn't actually there. I've never seen a more heartbreaking patient in my life. 3 weeks before she came in, she was living alone and waiting tables full time. And by the end of it, she was completely out of touch with reality and had to be in a nursing home for full-time care. I think the most compelling part of that story was, first of all, how the UTI led to so many things, right? That is the most compelling aspect. So it led to delirium, and it also led to blindness, and it also led to an exacerbated case of glaucoma. And when I read the story, I was very fascinated by it, because I'm like, there's not a lot of discussions being had about elderly people and UTIs, okay? And also it just goes to show how not taking care of a UTI, right? Because this is because it got all out of control, right? Not taking care of a UTI can lead to all of those bad health conditions and exacerbate pre-existing health conditions that were probably acute and minor, but then ended up being really, really big. And the delirium part was like, wow, like you can actually end up hallucinating from having unhealthy pee, okay? It's very crazy. But yeah, like I said earlier, it just was fascinating to me because it made me realize that there's not a lot of discussions being had about elderly people, senior citizens, and UTIs. When I think of UTIs, I think of young people, right? Because it's kind of like usually how you contract them, was just the nature of how you get it, just bacteria in the urine. And, I don't need to say where you can get it from, but you know what I mean, right? So I've never associated this condition or infection with elderly people. But after doing some more research, it turns out that elderly people actually are the ones that get this the most, not young people. Older people are more likely to develop urinary tract infections than younger people, and more than 1/3 of all infections in people in nursing homes are UTIs. Wow. Before I get into why this is, first let's get into what this is. In case you are unfamiliar with what a UTI is, basically it stands for urinary tract infection, okay? And this is how exactly it happens. So when bacteria enters the urethra and your immune system doesn't fight them off, okay? This may spread to the bladder and kidneys, and the result is a UTI. So a UTI affects a lot of different parts of the body, 4 different parts of the body. The urethra, okay, which is the opening that carries urine from your bladder, the uterus, your bladder, and kidneys, okay? All 4 of those things. So yeah, if your body's not fighting off that bacteria, the result is a UTI. Now, the reason why elderly people get it more often than younger people is because of 2 things. One is a weakened immune system. When I read that, I had like an aha moment. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. The weakened immune system, yes, when you're older, you have a weakened immune system. Yes, okay, makes sense. But then the other reason was something that I also didn't ever consider, and that is because I never knew that older people have a reduced ability to control urination and bowel movements. So that I found interesting, right? Because I thought that we always had a sense of control regardless of age, right? Maybe it's harder to go and walk up to the restroom, but I always thought you can still control it. But I guess now when you're older, you lose that sense of power and control. So that affects the bacteria levels, and I guess just more bacteria is able to enter and you can't really fight it off because of that weakened immune system. So that was pretty interesting. All right. But now what can we learn from this, right? Obviously, to do things that promote healthy urinary tract and just having healthy pee and a urine system, right? But what exactly does that mean? Well, that means two things. It means ingesting cranberries, and it means also taking a probiotic and eating probiotic rich foods. Why? I'm about to tell you why, okay? So as far as cranberries go, I read somewhere, okay, and this scientific article said that cranberries contain a compound that prevents bacteria from sticking to the bladder wall. Pretty interesting, right? Now, the good news is that you don't have to be eating cranberries if you don't want to, because that's a lot of cranberries to eat in order to get the benefits of this, but you can take it in the form of a supplement. They have cranberry pills out there, cranberry gummies, and also cranberry juice, okay? So cranberries are going to be really, really helpful and beneficial for your urinary tract. And then another thing is probiotics, okay? So probiotics have a bunch of bacteria in them, but don't worry, they have good bacteria, okay? So the good bacteria, when you eat these foods, helps counteract the bad bacteria that we have in us, okay? So this can include a supplement too, yes, but also kefir, yogurt, kombucha, or sauerkraut, those are probiotic rich foods, okay? But like I said, eating a bunch of these things can be a lot. So supplements just really ensure that you are getting your daily value in. Alrighty, well, that is all I have for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you see me next time, you can know for sure that you are about to hear a crazy, outrageous story related to health and wellness. All right, bye for now.